last night, or the night before, I had a dream where, in the dream, I was talking to a pastor, a church leader. He wasn't anyone that I know of, but he was a pastor and a church leader that had a lot of influence. And I kept on repeating the same thing to him. It's like I was compelled to tell him this over and over and over because it was like it wasn't really sinking in. And I had to tell him. And I had to get him to understand. And what I kept telling him in the dream, now, I didn't go to sleep thinking about any of this stuff. I wasn't dwelling on these things the day or the week before. This is just the Holy Spirit just wanted to share this with me and put it in my spirit. So I'm telling this pastor repeatedly, you have to preach the truth first. The truth comes first. Love comes second. The truth is first. The truth, you have to speak the truth. You have to speak the truth. It's the truth that you have to speak. Because when you speak the truth, and this is what I told him, I said, when you speak the truth first, that is love. So if you're speaking about love first and not putting the truth first, then you're basically not really putting love first, if that makes any sense. Because in my dream, I was telling the pastor, I said, when you speak the truth, that is love. That is the ultimate expression of love, is speaking the truth. And it was like he just couldn't grasp his head around what I was saying. And thinking about the dream, I know why he was wrestling with it, because the truth isn't always accepted. And when things aren't accepted, it's not perceived as love. But ultimately, that doesn't matter. The truth will stand for itself. The truth is the truth regardless. The gravity is gravity. It is what it is. So, next thing in my dream, I am looking at another pastor, another church leader. Now, I don't know any of these people in my dream. And they weren't like prominent Christian leaders that I can even think of. They were just random people that represented these leaders. And at this part of the dream, I knew that this particular leader, and he was a pastor, had an alcohol problem. And I remember being like saddened for him and broken for him because he was gripped by this alcoholism. But when I got closer, I realized that it wasn't actually alcohol like liquor. It was power. He was drunk off of this power. And the closer I started to observe, the more I realized, wow, this guy has set himself up as a king. And he is drunk off of the power that being a king has given to him. And immediately I felt afraid for him, because he allowed himself to be put in a position that the Lord would not have him be in. That he allowed himself to be elevated so high that it was such a temptation that there was an addiction involved. And I just felt so afraid for him, because I knew that this wasn't the Lord's perfect strategy. I knew that the Lord would have him live in a more humble place. And I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about influence. I'm talking about not having to be the center, not having to be all the time at the highest place, having the most power, making all the decisions. So anyways, then in the dream I saw a man come to him, and he was a counselor, and this man started to tell him things, and I looked at the pastor, and he was just agreeing, like, yes, this is what I want to hear. This is what I want to hear. And the counselor was affirmed by that, and I could tell that he felt empowered because he was telling the king what he wanted to hear. And as I'm watching this, I'm thinking, oh man, this is absolutely horrible. This is not the truth. This is not what this pastor, this is not what this king needs to hear. This isn't true counsel. And as I'm observing this and thinking these things, I see two other men try to come up to the pastor to tell him things. And I discerned in the dream that these two men were aware of what was going on and were trying to find a way to get the truth to him. But they were not allowed within the tiny sphere bubble that was around this pastor. And so ultimately they got pushed away, they got rejected, and almost looked at as a threat and as a problem. And I immediately felt compassion for these two men because I in the dream I saw, no, they had genuinely desired to get the truth to this leader, but they weren't able to. And in the dream I saw the frustration and I saw the pain that these two guys were going through. And I feel like this dream really paints a picture of something that is happening in the church in America right now, where certain Christian leaders have positions like kings. And